Hey, good morning. You said, and those plants are placed in marginalized communities. You're absolutely correct. That's called environmental racism. Now, the term environmental racism was created in 1982 by Benjamin Chavis, who defined it as racial discrimination in environmental policy making, the enforcement of regulation and laws, the deliberate targeting of communities of color for toxic waste facilities, and so on. While Dr. Robert Bullard refers to it as any policy, practice, or directive that differentially affects or disadvantages, whether intended or unintended, individuals, groups, or communities based on color or race. And the government uses environmental racism to its advantage by buying up land surrounding petrochemical plants and then using that land for government housing, especially for FEMA camps like mine. You see, my FEMA camp sits in between 4 petrochemical plants, a flooded landfill, and a cow pasture. Which is why you see so many communities of color around petrochemical plants. It's designed that way, to make the people sick, kill them off, and in so many words, you get to do away with the original problem of America, the Negro problem. Now, I'm originally from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and it has been designated as both a Superfund site and a sacrifice zone. Now, sacrifice zones are often defined as populated areas with high levels of pollution and environmental hazards, thanks to nearby toxic or polluting industrial facilities like the one across the street from me. Or as Dr. Robert Bullard said, it's polluting areas with people who have the wrong complexion for protection. In other words, people living within these zones can be sacrificed so long as industry survives and thrives. And Superfund sites are sites that are so contaminated that it's almost impossible for them to clean up. So the government just pours money into these sites trying to clean up the impossible. That's why it's called a Superfund site. And because of all the oil, gas, and petrochemical plants along the Gulf Coast, everything from Orange and Port Arthur, Texas, to Lake Charles and Westlake, Louisiana is known as the mouth of Cancer Alley. It's also known as the gas station of America because we process almost all of the oil and gas that is used in your cars no matter where you are within the United States of America. Now, cancer rates go up the closer you get to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And once you get to Baton Rouge, there's an 85-mile stretch of land known as Cancer Alley because they have higher rates of cancer than anybody else in the country because of these petrochemical plants and environmental racism. For example, in St. John the Baptist Parish, they have 1 petrochemical plant for every 656 residents. People's lifetime risk of cancer in St. John the Baptist is about 800 times higher than the average American. And you can see the power dynamic between petrochemical companies and locals of St. John the Baptist Parish, who earn about $17,000 a year, while the petrochemical companies generate about $80 billion a year for the state of Louisiana. And get this, most of the petrochemical companies don't even have to pay taxes. The area is so polluted that in 1976, Coast Guard divers tried to collect sediment samples from the Mississippi River. When they came up, their hands were covered in second-degree burns. That's just how toxic the silt deposits are. And in 1981, 30 grazing cows died overnight grazing near Geismar, a predominantly black town next to St. Gabriel. And this caused people to start worrying about the pollution. You see, they cared more about cows than they did about the lives of black people. Ain't that it? Matter of fact, let me call in an expert. Hey, Ozan! Tell us about the environmental practices that are harming the people of Louisiana today. And here we are 16 hours later, and that flame is still burning, releasing chemicals into the air. Ain't that about a bee?
For what they did to us and what they are still doing to us.